we're going to do another art project today. I have some clues with what I'm wearing, and it's kind of based on a book called Frida Catlo. And I have a cat. Her name's Izzy. She did not want to cooperate, but Mr. B was happy to stand in again. Even though we're not even doing a dog today. We're doing a cat. Is that okay? We can still do a cat? Alright. So what we're going to do is you have some choices for this art project. You're going to need washable markers, water, and I'm going to show you two ways in the video. One way is you can draw your Frida Catlo, and you can draw your flowers just like this. Another way is you're going to leave this blank, and you're going to kind of go on a garden scavenger hunt in your yard with a grown-up's permission and collect some flowers and leaves and arrange your flower crown for your Frida Kahlo. Oh, are you excited for this project? Yes, you are. Okay.
To begin our drawing, you can do pencil first and then outline with Sharpie, or just go with Sharpie. And to start with our Frida Catlo's head, we want to make a big stretched out smile. And it's going to take up most of that piece of paper. We're going to move on to the ears next, and I'm going to bring it up that line close to the top of the paper, not quite touching, and then bring it back down. It's going to look a little bit like a triangle with a rounded tip. And I'm going to repeat the same step on the other side. I'm going to add a small oval about in the center. That's where I'm going to put our cat's nose and then the mouth. Inside the ears, I'm going to repeat that same triangle shape, just a little bit smaller for both sides. I'm going to add some stripes to our cat's face. So it looks like I'm just doing kind of like a sideways letter U. So I did 3 on one side, and I'm going to do 3 on the other side. Once I finish the stripes, I'm going to move on to the eyes. And they're going to be pretty close to the center, close to the nose, and you have some choices. You can kind of do it in this style where it looks like a little frown with some eyelashes, or 2 circles. So that's up to you. I'm going to do the circles again. So I'm just trying to make them the same on both sides. You can just leave them like that as a circle, color them in. If you want to add eyelashes, you can do that as well. So this is where your choices come in. If you're drawing your flowers, you would take your time to go and draw the flowers right now with your Sharpie. Like I have in this example, you want to make sure they're overlapping. You add some leaves. If you're going to go on that garden scavenger hunt and add real flowers, you're just going to add a slight curved line like I just did in this example. I'm going to add like the markings, the bridge to Frida Catlo's nose. So even if you drew the flowers, you would still do this step. So you start on that oval, and it's a slight curved line going towards each ear. So Frida Catlo is an inspiration from the real artist Frida Kahlo, and she has those really distinctive eyebrows. So I'm actually going to do this step with pencil first, and it looks like it's kind of like a flying bird, or like a really stretched out M. So I did that with pencil as my guide. Now I'm going to go back with my Sharpie, and I just do some short little lines in the middle where that point is. And now I'm going to make the lines slant this way to the left. And when I finish with that, they're going to slant over to the right. And they're just little short lines. Since it's eyebrows, it's not colored in solid. And once you're finished with your eyebrows, the last thing we're going to add is those whiskers. Now, I'm going to be cutting mine out and adding it to a new background. So when I make my whiskers, I want to make sure they don't go all the way off the face because that would be hard to cut those out. We're going to use some washable markers and water for coloring our cat's face. If you chose to leave out the flowers and add real flowers, you're still going to use the same colors for the cat's face. I'm just going to go everywhere where I want to add some color, and it's like I'm kind of outlining with the marker, but I'm not coloring the whole thing in. And for each area, I'm going to try and use two different colors. So you could see for the ears and for the nose, I used a light pink and a dark pink. So they're kind of overlapping a little bit, but I'm not coloring in the middle. I'm going to use this same method for the rest of the coloring. So for like the stripes, I'm going to go with some brown, and I'm going to then overlap with like a peach, a tan. I did some peach around the nose. And when I go to do the cat's face, I'll be using an orange and a brown as well. So it's still kind of just outlining, making a thick line, but I'm not coloring the whole thing in. Now that I'm done with my marker, I'm going to add water, and I'm using a small brush, and I also have a large brush for when I do the bigger areas. And I just am making sure I get that marker wet with my brush, and then I'm just kind of pulling the color out to fill in the white areas. So remember though, you want to clean your brush before you go do a new color. If you drew your flowers, you're going to use that same marker technique where you're outlining but not coloring the whole thing in. And then you will go back and add water to those as well, and then let dry. While we're waiting for our cat to dry, we're going to work on our background. I'm using a green paper. If you don't have green paper, you can use what you have available. Remember how we created our painted paper for our cactus? That's another way you can get a colored piece of paper. And I'm just going with a Sharpie, and I want to add a bunch of leaves and designs. I went back and I made my lines a little thicker, and then I'm going to add like a highlight with a white oil pastel. So I'm just kind of going next to some of those black lines I've made. If you don't have a oil pastel, if you have like white sidewalk chalk, that would work well. Or you could just use a green marker and add that as a highlight. We're going to go back and check to see if our paper's dry. If it is, there's two ways we can kind of make those rosy cheeks. One way is by adding a little of the pink marker and then using your wet brush to blend it out. The second way, which you'll see in a moment, is using some chalk. I'm using a chalk pastel, or if you have some sidewalk chalk, and you want to rub that chalk on a scrap piece of paper and then rub your fingertip in it, and then with your fingertip blend that into the cheek area. Once that's done, you're going to want to cut whatever version of your Frida Catlo that you created. You want to cut it out, and you're going to glue it to your background. If you chose to do the Frida Catlo where you drew your flowers, then you're already done. But if you chose to use real flowers, this is your time to kind of go out in the garden and collect some flowers and leaves. Just make sure you have permission. And you're just going to arrange them until you're happy with how they look. And then I would take a photograph of it, because remember, since these are real flowers, they're not going to last. And one last thing, you want to remember to add your cat's whiskers. I forgot in my video, so I had to go back and add them later.